Hey, are you curious as to what working with a listing agent actually looks like? Well, I've got you covered. Welcome back, friends. My name is Jared Hill with the Ease Group over here at eXp Realty. I appreciate you checking out my channel, I Went to Jared, where you'll find all sorts of information on real estate in the Raleigh-Durham area. Now, I get messages in my DMs from time to time from potential clients who are a little curious about how to sell their home and what working with an agent actually looks like. So in this video, we're going to give you an exclusive look into what our valued homeowner clients experience when they work with us. I'm a huge proponent of educating my clients, and I found that when you understand the process and you know what to expect, it really reduces the amount of stress you have. If you've ever sold a property before, you know that selling can be very stressful. There's lots of moving parts, but when that stress is removed, you can actually enjoy the process of selling a property and making it to the finish line very smoothly. So I have my homeowner clients go through sort of a boot camp, if you will, so that they're completely prepped for exactly what to expect. This is part of my boot camp. So just sit back, relax, check this part out, and let me know what you think. Welcome back. The next form that we're going to briefly discuss is the offer to purchase and contract. The whole point of what you're working on is to sell your home. And this is the tool that we use in North Carolina to do so legally. So it's important to understand what this form is, what it does, and what it contains. The offer to purchase and contract outlines all of the terms that a buyer is willing to offer you for your property. It includes important details such as the purchase price, the closing date, and any contingencies that they may want to include. And this was designed to protect both parties by clearly outlining everything included in the agreement. So once you've received an offer, it's important that you read and review it carefully. That way you understand all of the terms included before agreeing to sign. A lot of what the offer includes really pertains to the buyer and what they intend to deliver or ask for in the contract. But there are certain parts that pertain to you as the seller. So we're going to dive into those briefly right now. Page 1 itemizes how much the buyer wants their offer price to be, how much they're willing to put down in due diligence to get you as the seller to accept their offer, and how much earnest money deposit they're willing to put down towards the purchase. If you're already familiar with due diligence fees and earnest money deposits, wonderful. You're ahead of the game. If you're not familiar, we'll take the next few minutes to review a brief video that I've done explaining both of them in detail. What are due diligence fees? Simply put, it's a negotiated amount of money that a seller pays to a buyer at the time that they go under contract for the buyer's right to be able to change their mind, cancel the contract, and walk away from the deal. It's incentive to you as the seller to accept that buyer's offer over any other potential offers, take your house off the market, and let them move forward with the transaction. Now, it's important to note that due diligence fees are not typically refundable. So if you accept a buyer's offer, day one, whatever they put down in due diligence is yours to keep. You should actually be receiving those funds shortly after going under contract, and as soon as you get it, you can take those funds directly to the bank. The only time that due diligence fees are refundable back to the buyer is if you as the seller decide not to sell them the home and back out of the deal, or if you breach the contract somehow. So you can look at due diligence fees as a sort of skin in the game that a buyer is willing to put down to get the deal sealed. Now, what are earnest money deposits? Well, earnest money deposits are also known as good faith deposits. And those are also funds that buyer pays to the seller around the same time that they go under contract as a show of good faith that they intend on closing on the deal. These funds are usually held in an escrow account by a neutral third party like a title company or a closing attorney until the day of closing. Now, we know that due diligence fees are not refundable, but earnest money deposits can be. If a buyer decides to walk away from the deal within the due diligence period, then the earnest money deposit that they initially put down, they are entitled to get back. Now, if they walk away from the deal after the due diligence period expires, then the earnest money deposit is no longer refundable. If the deal happens to fall apart, then those funds are typically released to you. Understanding how these two work is one of the most important parts of the home selling process, because it's dealing with upfront money and when it is and isn't refundable. Got it? Great. Now, page 2 covers definitions of due diligence fees and earnest money deposits in further detail for everyone. Page 3 covers definitions of settlement and closing. Page 4 covers fixtures, and you'll see a lot of items that are listed out that are understood to convey with the sale of your property. As a seller, it's important for you to review these items because what's listed here cannot be removed from the home once you've gone under contract. It must be disclosed prior to going under contract that you intend to take these items out, if that's the case. For example, if there's a specific chandelier in the dining room, or you've got ceiling fans in the bedroom and you intend to take them with you when you leave, we have to disclose that up front before the buyer goes under contract. So familiarize yourself with these items. And if there are any that are listed that you intend to keep once the home sells, like security cameras or curtain rods or TV mounts, for example, just make sure that those are mentioned up front. Now, page 5 covers a bunch of buyer obligations, but there are a few high points on page 6 that I'd like to highlight. Homes in North Carolina are sold as is. All repairs must be negotiated, and sellers aren't obligated to fix any repairs unless they agree to do so in writing. Known issues of the property, called material facts, however, must be disclosed. Now, the bottom of that page goes on to break down what the buyer's financing looks like. And that's important to you as the seller because you get an opportunity to review these different financing structures and to see what might be most beneficial to you in meeting your needs in the situation. For example, you might see a cash buyer versus a buyer that's obtaining a loan, or the type of loan that they intend to use, and so on. Page 7 covers whether the buyer received 2 seller-specific disclosures before they've submitted their offer. One is called the Residential Property and Owners Association disclosure. The other is called the Mineral Oil and Gas Rights Mandatory Disclosure. But we'll be covering both of these forms together in more detail in a later video. The next few pages tend to be a little bit more property specific, like whether or not there's an HOA and what those details are. And then it moves on to what a seller's obligations are under the contract. This includes things like working with a provided attorney for any title needs, allowing access to the home so that the buyer can complete any inspections that they choose to do, removing all of your personal property prior to closing, satisfying any new or outstanding liens against the property, and legally being able to sell or provide good title to the property. The last few pages include information about how things like HOAs and taxes are all prorated. So each party, buyer and seller, pay their prorated portion of whatever is actually owed or due for the year. And that's all based on whatever the closing date happens to be. Past that are listed a few standard definitions, a section referring to wire fraud, and then you've got contact information at the very end. And that wraps up the offer to purchase and contract, which is what we shoot for to receive when you choose to sell your home. Again, you want to review what's here just so that you get an overall grasp, but you'll surely get a thorough review and assessment as you start to receive offers once you've actually listed your home. And again, there's nothing to sign here at the moment. This is just a sample form for your review. Let's move on to our next form. You guys see? So we cover a little bit together and then we move on to next steps. And once all the steps are complete, then they're fully ready and we can really put together a tangible plan to have their home listed to sell and meet the goals that they've set. Now, again, this is just a small part of what we do to help our homeowner clients in getting prepped. But what do you think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I want you guys to be as prepared as you possibly can when you have a property that you're thinking about selling. So if you'd like access to my full Sellers Bootcamp for free, just comment bootcamp in the comments below and I'll make sure to get you set with that. Now, my group and I specifically cover North Carolina, but my team as a whole is in multiple states. And we love to help you out with anything you may need wherever it may be, but you got to give us a shout. Thanks again for watching this video. And if you want to get more information on selling a property, check this next one out.